Square Cow Countdowns. Buongiorno, my peeps. This is Slash Raptor. The topic for this video is the top 10 most effed up video game bosses. Hang on a second, I should have the rules around here somewhere. There's a lot of things that we're focusing on for this list, such as exactly what the boss is, what it looks like, what you fight it with, how it attacks you, why you're fighting it, blah blah blah. You get the idea. I don't have to have played any of the games on this list, because most of the games I own or play don't have nearly enough bosses that would qualify for this list. Only one boss per game, and they all have to be actual bosses. I'm sure you all know what that means, so I don't have to explain myself for that part. Lastly, be prepared for spoilers, because I'm gonna have to give some stuff away in order to explain why you fight certain bosses. Spoiler Llama will handle that though, so don't worry. So without any further ado, let's commence the countdown.
Number 10.
Number 10. Zorn Thorn. Final Fantasy IX. The saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover," is a great way to explain these guys. In Final Fantasy IX, they primarily serve Queen Braun and do all of her dirty work, despite being court jesters. We later find out that not only are they also court wizards or something like that, but they're not even really twins. What they really are is whatever the hell that is. Even though clowns freak me out, I still prefer them in their disguised form. And when you finally kill them in their true form, it's really satisfying because they were one of the most annoying things in the whole game. Except for maybe all those pointless active time events.
Number 9.
Number 9. Mimi. Super Paper Mario. Super Paper Mario is a dark game. It takes a while to get there, but it's dark nonetheless. A few examples of this are the characters of Super Dementio, Count Bleck, and Mimi. Much like Zorn Thorn, Mimi starts off in a disguise that makes her seem innocent and relatively harmless, until she transforms in one of the creepiest ways imaginable. You can even hear her neck cracking. It hurts just watching. Turns out her true form is some sort of demonic female daddy longlegs or something, which is even more unsettling. And the whole thing catches the player off guard because it happens right after a disgustingly cheesy rhyme-heavy game show sequence.
Number 8.
Number 8. Ripperoo. Crash Bandicoot series. Ripperoo is a crazy, unstable nutcase that laughs maniacally while bouncing around on platforms. He was probably the result of the first failed test of the machine that created Crash. I don't really know what kind of animal Ripperoo is, but if I had to guess, I would say he's half dog and half kangaroo. His insanity varies based on which game he's included in too. When you first meet him in the original game, he wears a straitjacket and you fight him by making him land in the radius of explosions. In the second game, he appears to have developed a multiple personality, or he's now bipolar. He still hops around, but in the second game he hurts himself for you, so all you have to do is not get blown up. I wonder what would happen if he took Ritalin.
Number 7.
Number 7. Belcher. Donkey Kong Country 3. Do I really need to explain this one? It's a gigantic living barrel that spits out bugs while trying to flatten you. That alone is more than enough reason for Belcher to be on this list. Even if I tried to justify it more, I couldn't because I already said as much as I know. So yeah, deal with it.
Number 6.
Number 6. Slot Machine. Star Fox. The Slot Machine is a boss that appears in the original Star Fox game as the final boss for the Out of This Dimension course. Shooting its arm will activate it and give you various combinations. To defeat it, you have to get 3 sevens in a row, which will cause it to self-destruct. As a boss, it works very well, especially because there are all sorts of other combinations you can get by spinning its reels. What's weird about it is that there's no real explanation for it. The game doesn't tell you why you're suddenly fighting a giant slot machine. You just are. It makes no sense, but it's awesome.
Number 5.
Number 5. Joehead Joe. Skull Monkeys. Much along the lines of Belcher, there is no explanation given to us about this boss. Not even about its name. Luckily for you, I've deciphered that part already. You see, it's basically just a normal skull monkey named Joe that happens to have a large human head for a torso. So, if you were to label each section of it, you would call its feet Joe, its torso Head, and its head Joe. Hence the name Joehead Joe. At least that part of this guy still makes sense because nothing else about him does. Like for instance how he can pop his eyes out and roll them at you without actually losing his eyes. It's a mystery, I tell ya. albeit a very talented mystery, but a mystery nonetheless. Is the word mystery starting to sound weird to you?
Number 4.
Number 4, the Great Mighty Poo. I probably don't need to explain this guy either. I mean, come on, it's a huge opera-singing pile of but because I can actually give you more information about this guy, then I might as well. Basically, in Conker's Bad Fur Day, or its remake on the Xbox, the Great Mighty Poo appears as the boss of Poo Mountain. It emerges from the cesspool when you throw all of the sweet corn in the area into the pit, and then proceeds to sing about how it wants to throw pieces of itself at you. His only weakness is toilet paper, which very conveniently appears down there when Conker stands on the action buttons. To defeat him, you have to throw the toilet paper in his mouth when it opens wide enough. Ironically, the Great Mighty Poo's song is what ends up revealing the flusher that Conker ultimately uses to banish the boss into the void. Now, if you don't agree with my placement of this boss on the list after having heard all of that, then please close this video immediately and commit yourself to the nearest mental institution.
Number 3.
Number 3, Guess Earthbound. Before you take my head off for not putting Guess at number 1, please remember that we're not focusing on how horrific and disturbing these bosses are. We're focusing on how weird they are in a more generalized fashion. Anyways, I decided to include Guess on here because of how unique it is. During the game, Guess gains such tremendous evil power that it destroys his entire being, including his mind, causing him to become undefinable by human standards. As such, it manifests as what can only be described as pure evil, which to me looks like a wall of grotesque skulls and spirals. To be honest, it kinda reminds me of an optical illusion, and yes, I'm well aware about the outline of a fetus, so there's no need to comment on it. Luckily for Ness and his friends, Guess still has one weakness: human emotions. So basically, if you were to cry on Guess, it would implode? That sounds kinda lame to me, but maybe I shouldn't say that, considering the fact that I've never even played this game.
Number 2.
Number 2, this boss, from whatever game this is. I stumbled upon this video on YouTube one day and decided to archive it for later use in a countdown about weird video game bosses. At the time, I had no idea that this countdown would end up being stuck in development hell. It took me a while to learn much of anything about this boss or this game, but now I know that this clip comes from something called Jikyo Oshibari Parodius, which is just a Japanese parody of Gradius that never made it to North America. And that's probably for the best, because this game looks like it was designed by people on acid. Alright, so before we get to number 1, let's do a recap. Number 10, Zorn Thorn. Number 9, Mimi. Number 8, Ripperoo. Number 7, Belcher. Number 6, The Slot Machine. Number 5, Joehead Joe. Number 4, The Great Mighty Poo. Number 3, Guess. And number 2, this boss. Which, unless I'm very much mistaken, brings us to...
Number 1.
Number 1, the Corn Boss, Castle Crashers. In reality, I could have easily put all of the bosses from Castle Crashers on this list, like the catfish creature or the pooping bat, but then I thought to myself, nothing is weirder than fighting a corn monster. I love this boss because, like Joehead Joe and Belcher, there is no information about it at all. Not even the Castle Crashers wiki knows anything about it. But I mean, come on, it's a corn monster. It drops kernels that heal 1 HP, hides underground like a cheap bastard, and even makes popcorn when you kill it. I'll bet you this is what killed Orville Redenbacher. Maybe he tried to create a new revolutionary kind of popcorn that you could be best friends with before you ate it. But then it turned on him and ate him or something. Wait, I've got a stupid pun for you. This boss is a perfect example of popcorn entertainment. Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video because, like I said, it was trapped on the drawing board for several years. So, for those of you who are newcomers, click here to be taken to the playlist that includes all my other countdowns. Comprende? Good, now get out of here, kid, you bother me.